This is Bay Radio.
It's just gone 25 to 11, mainland Spain, 25 to 10, the UK and the Canaries. And joined by Mike Mills and Gaynor LaPorte from XIC, the Xabia International College, of course. Now, we've spoken to Richard about the lockdown period. We spoke to him during it while the school was still in. How did you see it from your point of view? How were you involved in sort of coordinating things? I know it was challenging at times.
Challenge is the right word, but the school, and I mean not just the teachers, I mean the students and the parents faced up to the challenge, and we met it and we beat that challenge. I mean, it was a really strange series of affairs. Everyone knows, of course, everyone knows this, but what happened was we were closed on the Friday. The next few days of the school week, it was before we had fiestas, I think, as I recall.
Friday the 13th.
Was that when it was?
Yes.
Okay, that says it all. So that we had a few days where we decided how can we get this education going for the students, because that's what we're here for at the end of the day. And we started off having sessions where the teacher would go on just to be there during the day for the first few days, just to be there if the students want anything. We'd set work. So pretty much like most of the schools did, we had work prepared and we'd send them out. We actually used Google Classroom, which we developed, and we were lucky because we were already quite ahead of the game on Google Classroom, because again the board had the foresight to give all the students tablets and the staff the ability to use their tablets, and then we got Chromebooks, so we were slightly ahead of the game. So we got all that set up already, and the staff worked very hard to get resources ready, and we did the 2 or 3 days, and we decided as a staff really that even though we were doing it quite effectively and still doing more than other schools across the world, really. We knew we were already doing more than them, but we thought it's still not quite right. We're XIC and we're about giving the student attention. So what we did then at the end of that week and during the fiesta times, we were training basically, and we were training. We had help from some of the staff. Some of the staff stepped forward to train some of the staff that are less confident. So we had a really good communal approach to it all. And for that weekend, we trained and using Google Meet and how it all works and how to display work and how to control this, that and the other, and different ways of teaching while using this Google Meet. We had to train on it. We hadn't done it before. No, we just literally hadn't. And some staff, just like the students, were more confident with it than others. But we did it, and then by the Monday we had a full timetable. And since that week, starting in March, we have taught every single lesson. So every lesson at XIC has been taught with a teacher in front of the students. They're in their living rooms or their studies, wherever they were, and we had to make sure our living rooms were tidy.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about the set dressing. What's behind you? Yeah.
It was important. So make sure your rooms are all tidy. So we were there online, teach them all. And the only thing we couldn't do easily was teach PE lessons. Of course, because of the tuition, but we had a member of our staff, Zoe Batson, that kindly gave two lunchtimes a week, and they beamed into her home in Calpe, and the students and parents could join in and do a fitness session with her. So she did that right from the start as well. So even though we couldn't offer the PE lessons, we offered 2 sessions per week, where for anybody can go and just try and get fit. Whilst the lockdown. Yeah,
so that was a big part of it, especially if you weren't allowed outside for that first period, and you need to be doing something. But Gaynor, I guess it was one of those things where it's like these days, the teenagers were showing you how to do the technology bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, I was blown away by the kindness of students during these sessions, because a lot of us were on a very steep learning curve, and myself not particularly confident, and the students actually interacted with each other on the classroom. They offered to present and share tips with each other. We have the chat, of course, in the class, which was a lovely way to communicate, because, of course, one of the downsides of lockdown was the lack of socialisation for the students, which are very aware of. And it was actually quite lovely at the start of lessons to have a little introductory chat where we could sort of familiarise ourselves with what we've been doing, meeting pets, all sorts of things with the students in their homes, of course. But an absolute joy to see how so many of our students rose to the challenge and was so dedicated and attending lessons, producing work, helping each other, supporting staff, supporting us. And it was actually so lovely to see a new dimension to a lot of our students. I'm very, very positive.
Sorry, go on.
So I was going to say, I think a thing that we do sometimes miss, it's not just how great the students were, and they really were, and the staff were fantastic. equally, but also the fact that we knew, and we knew because the XIC community, we knew that there were people in our in families that were ill as well with the coronavirus. So it wasn't just about the teaching. We had people that were ill, we had staff that had family that were ill, and that was a real challenge for us because we knew this. Yet you're trying to teach and trying to keep it going, and some of the staff, especially ones with young children, they were teaching whilst looking after their children. Yeah. And some of the staff, what they did was amazing. We arranged sometimes the timetable. So, we had some maths lessons that we had to start at 8 o'clock because one of the members of staff, her husband was also working, so they had to do it in shifts. So the teachers' home life was also just completely changed, and people giving up far more of their time, outside of what you call normal school hours, but also their families are giving up. So we could keep going as XIC and providing the education that we aim to provide. Their partners, their husbands, they also changed what they were doing. So we don't ever sort of like think about that, but for us to keep teaching in the way that we did, people gave up a lot and sacrificed a lot of time just to keep it going, and we're really grateful for that.
A massive team effort.
Yeah.
It really was extraordinary. Really extraordinary.
Yeah, all helped each other. You were saying that the students were great, and it's with humour because, sometimes when you're using these technology and you're sharing things, it goes wrong. And as long as you can laugh at yourself, and that's the thing. And the students were great. They said, "You pressed the wrong button, sir." I was like, "So sorry." The biggest challenge we had actually in the end of it was the internet, wasn't it?
Yes.
The internet, different providers go down, of course.
Yes.
And that was the hardest and the biggest challenge we had.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We had no control over that.
Let's talk about actually the exciting times ahead, because of course you're in school holidays now. You finished a couple of days earlier because that had been a tough old term, and probably seemed like a very long term as well. But it's not completely off duty for you because you're looking ahead to the new secondary school, of course, both of you.
Yes, fantastic times ahead. We've had a couple of site meetings, and as you know, Richard is a driving force at the moment, working with the architects and looking at plans, and with the amazing support of the board, we're able to proceed, and we're hoping very positively for September. We've been to the site with some staff, haven't we, and had a look, and compared to where we are now, it's like Christmas. We have wonderful facilities, all purpose made. We have labs, food technology lab, we have a gym, we have an outdoor sports area, teaching blocks that are very well situated, so we still maintain the intimacy of the school, which is something that we want to keep, because obviously we're a very small site at the moment which maintains the lovely intimacy, but one of the nice things going to the new site is it still has that. So when we transfer, we'll have the luxury of space, but still that feeling of being a small community within a working environment. And the most exciting thing for me is the sports area. Which is just wonderful, because where we are currently, we have to go off-site for our sports lessons. And obviously moving to the new site, we're going to have everything literally on our doorstep. We have a multi-sports area, and rather sort of inspirationally, we have a running track going around part of the buildings in and around, so we've managed to incorporate that with the architects, haven't we? So and we have a lovely gym, and lots of areas allocated, like a volleyball area there. We're hoping to have little gym areas around the play sections for the students, so there will always be activities for them.
I bet each different teacher's been looking at their own sort of section going, oh yes, I'll have a bit of this. Is a bit of me.
They certainly have. I mean, all the views are amazing. The classroom, you have a classroom that looks directly onto the Mongo, which is beautiful, or you have a classroom on the other side that looks over Cumbria and the views into the distance of the Cumbria. So no matter where you are, it's just the views are amazing. And as Gaynor was saying, we designed the school and the site of the school with the students in mind. We spoke with the students. What do you want? What do you want as your college moving forwards? And it's all about moving this college into the next phase. So it's all about outdoor spaces. So every space we've got, how can we use that for the students? Like Gaynor said, we've got the running track. We're going to have outdoor gym equipment, like you see on the beaches. You know, the metal, the tough, robust stuff. So a few areas of that, so the students can use that at different times. We talked about we're having a climbing wall. The students at XIC, they love the table tennis, and there's a queue to get on the table tennis table we've got at the current site. So we've got 4 outdoor proper concrete table tennis tables. It's at different parts, just so they can do it. The students love the sport. We want them to be active. We're big on being active. You know, it's where we come from with our sport background too. And that's what they want. That's what we want them to be fit and healthy, and that's the way to move forward in life. So everything is geared towards them.
But what's the flow of the new building like? This was a big part of what we've been talking to Richard about. You've got somebody in. It's almost like a feng shui thing, where it's got the flow through the building and the corridors, that sort of thing. It's that's been down to
even that's
like
all
a fine
been
art.
planned. That's all been planned going through, and in terms of the airflow, the light flow, it's all been looked at and gone through. Stuff you wouldn't really think of, but we're even coming onto the site, it's all carefully planned out and
a natural transition between buildings. So the blocks are well positioned. We have like a main classroom block. They're also a block with the specialist subjects such as our ICT music. They're all in one block. Then we have the science block, the sixth form block. So all the areas are very specific. So then obviously the movement around the school is less congested and it's well thought out. So their students will get directly to where they need to be with minimum fuss, but obviously in a positive way.
The sixth formers have got their own block of themselves. It was actually built originally for the staff, but we've given it to the sixth formers. They need somewhere to go to have their space, so they've got their own block with kitchenettes sort of area, the fastest Wi-Fi in the college. The sixth formers having in their little block there.
I bet
places to relax.
I bet it looks a bit different from the old sixth form common room when I was at school, and I bet the staff room's a little bit different as well. It's certainly smoke free these days.
Definitely.
I know that's an old cliche, but it was like that, wasn't it? The staff room when you were at school, it was a complete mystery. But occasionally you got a bit of an insight, and it was just these clouds of smoke coming out of there. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. When we first started teaching, that was the way.
Yeah.
And then they were moved out, and suddenly they had to find spaces if they were silly enough to smoke. They had to go off-site and everything else. Which is the right thing.
Now, the thing is here, we're talking about the Xabia area, of course, but international college, and we're reaching people. There's people listening online, and you're welcoming people to the area. There'll be people moving to the area all the time, maybe looking for somewhere like XIC. Should we do the sort of the business speak bit, the USP? What would be the USP of the school? Who wants to take this on?
USP of the school, USP of XIC is
definitely small class sizes.
Class sizes, individual attention. If your child comes to XIC, they will get individual attention. Academically, with the class sizes, they're taught by specialist teachers. So all our teachers have actually specialised and qualified to teach in their subject, which is really important. That was a big thing for me, and I was an inspector from the UK, as I said earlier. Coming over to here, it was important for me taking over as XIC. When I had my interview, I said I need specialist teachers to be teaching those subjects, because your love for the subject comes through. If you're teaching sport or geography or science, if it's your subject, you've passed that love of that subject onto the students, and that's vital. These students, they sit there for 6 hours a day in lessons. We want lessons to be as good as they can, and having specialist teachers teaching their specialism and with high craft, that's so important. So that you get the individual attention there. As I mentioned earlier, you get the individual attention pastorally too. We look after them. We get to know the students, and it's so vital, because knowing them, if something's wrong, we pick up on it, and it's not we're being nosy, we're being anything like that. We want to help the child. We're here to help the child. It's this total child-centred approach, and that's what you get. That's what you get with XIC. In terms of the teaching and the methods of teaching, we vary the methods of teaching. We are way ahead on Google Classroom. So we have our ATF, we have our tennis players that come in, and sometimes they're not there for all lessons because they're on tournament. We put our lessons, we put our work, we put our resources onto Google Classroom. So it's basically they've got a whole entire online library. So if you're not at school, if you're delayed because you're living somewhere out of Spain and you can't get across, no worries. The lessons are there for you to do that. And every child coming into XIC gets a tablet.
Yeah.
So we give them the technology, so they keep it with them. They take those home with them. And as a teacher, if you want to do some research, if someone asks a question and you think, well, you need to find that out really, you say, okay, tablet's open. You don't have to. In the old days, when I was at school, in my old school in the UK, you don't have to book an ICT room. Right. The ICT room comes to you, and that's a really big plus.
Yeah, and that technology side, there will have been one or two things that you were thrown in at the deep end a little bit with the lockdown period, but there'll be some things from that you can take forward and maybe utilise, and certainly have on standby should you need them again. Got it down.
Yeah, well, it's not even on standby anymore, because we are using this technology. Everyone going forward, we are all going to be making sure that the Google Classroom is there with all the work. We are using it as our tool from next year to contact the parents, because they can get notifications. So we put anything on the classroom, it comes up as, Mr. Mills has set this work, and so they're aware of it. If parents don't want that frequent contact, because sometimes it can get quite annoying on your phone, can't it, when it comes out? But you can turn the notifications off for that one. So we are moving forward with it. The classrooms are all fully with their technology. If we have, we've got 65-inch screens going into all the classrooms. The staff have all got their Chromebooks, the resources, the images, and imagery is so important in education. You just plug that in straight away to the screen. It's there, and with it also being on the classroom for the students, there's no excuses anymore. There's no excuses. We've got everything that we need.
Yeah,
teachers and students.
And that's the thing. I mean, great for the teachers in the school and most of the students, but there'll be one or two who are saying, I've heard stories about when it snowed and there was floods and you got the day off school. Yeah. It's not the same now. They'll still have to do it.
And as soon if something does happen and we have to, if we have a wave 2, it's all set up.
Sure.
We're there, and there'll be no. Okay, we stopped today. We're on tomorrow. There's no change. But hopefully that won't happen, because we can't wait to see them all.
No,
it's so strange. You miss the students. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, especially as you say, when it's smaller sizes and smaller groups, and you know them a little bit better to talk to. Yeah. So get everyone back together. Hopefully. I'm sure we'll be fine for September.
Yeah, we will be. We'll be open for September.